before we leave politics, where does John Kasich go from here? Remember him?
Yeah, very well. Yes. We are now in this moment where, when it comes to the Republican side, there is this huge, somewhat long, difficult effort to try to get it so that they will block Trump going into the convention in Cleveland. And the numbers there are there's still some tension, there's still some drama there. But the likelihood is that he will get over that number. All the effort is to try to bar him from doing that. John Kasich, the Ohio governor, cannot get the nomination outright. That's been the case for some time. His only hope would be on a second or third ballot where he would hope to win the party back. And it's interesting, one thing we've seen this week is Jeb Bush and similar people sort of holding their nose and whatever else and saying, I'm with Ted Cruz, which was a moment few of us saw coming. But all of this isn't really, I don't think, that Jeb Bush, if there were a contested convention in Cleveland, would still support Ted Cruz, but that they want there to be a process by which the party can attempt to pick somebody other than Donald Trump. And that is what Kasich thinks might be his moment.
I think this sheds fascinating light on the whole question of electability in this cycle. I mean, I'm sure a lot of us do this, but, I go to a lot of rallies, I go and interview a lot of voters at these things, and I'll often ask them, do you think your guy or your woman can win the general election? And a surprising number of people are sort of, that's not my top priority. I want someone who's going to, make me feel good about this or that. And sometimes it's Bernie Sanders supporters, and sometimes it's Donald Trump supporters. Sometimes it's Ted Cruz supporters, or they tell themselves a story about how there's a kind of secret majority out there that if you can just sort of turn out in ways that have never been seen before and completely reshape the electorate, there'll be a different result. But certainly there's polling as well. It's not just sort of vox popping people. There's polling that people are not putting electability at the top of their list. Now, call me a kind of old-fashioned kind of logic guy. If you lose, you lose. I do not see how electability isn't your top issue. And John Kasich is a very interesting example that the pitch for John Kasich is, apart from being the only guy who in polls is capable of winning against Hillary Clinton, what's he got? That's the kind of Republican thing. And you saw some interesting editorials in your paper, the Wall Street Journal, this week saying, actually, he is the guy who in polling, I mean, general election polling is obviously it's very early, it's a long way out. But that seems to be completely discounted by the vast majority of the Republican primary electorate is that he's the guy who can beat Hillary in head-to-head polls.
I mean, one thing we've seen play out through this is as Donald Trump has continued to do well in primary after primary, his negatives have crept up every month in our polling, so that now the number of people who are very negative, when you say, how are you predisposed towards this candidate, 54%. And his overall negatives among suburbanites, women's, blacks, Hispanic is just like off the charts. I mean, it's the kind of thing that we've never seen before in a presumptive candidate at this point in the election. And speaking of electability, you just can't be elected if large numbers of people don't like you.
I find it interesting, the whole question of gender.